you is, in terms of my own history, I've been active around social justice, particularly around women's issues, but many others over many decades, and also around environmental issues, especially in the last 20 years of my life. And my work in social change is what's brought me to the Interactivist as a program and a set of tools and ways of being in the world that I hope will help us make the kind of changes that this world and all of its folks within it, all of the creatures within it, really need. So that's a little intro to myself, and over to you, Tobias.
Hello, everybody. Yes, I am Tobias. I'm not Jo LeMay, but for those of you who just joined us, it says that I'm Jo LeMay because she is my partner and she shares the computer, and that's how it's working on the computer today. So, but yeah, so as I said, my name's Tobias. I had the privilege of attending Building Personal Mastery last year. I found out about it through Jackie. I had met Jackie through being involved in a program called Next Up, which is a program that takes place here in Vancouver as well as in a few other places across the country for young adults who are committed to social and environmental justice. And Jackie and Natasha both, Natasha, who's another one of the fantastic facilitators, did some workshops with Next Up, and so I had I was really glad to meet with them and find out about the Interactivist and about Building Personal Mastery. It was a great time for me to attend in my life because I run an organization called Hammer and Saw Youth Building Community, and we do work connecting youth and giving them skills training and providing building projects that relate to community identified need. And I was in the thick of doing a lot of organizational stuff for that program at the time, and we were just kind of getting off the ground, and so I was really glad to be able to go and participate in Building Personal Mastery last year. So yeah. For the agenda, for those of you that have just joined us, welcome, and for those of you who have heard us say that a few times, I'm sorry, but please have patience with us. For the agenda, so it's like a pretty relaxed, informal session. It's just an opportunity to learn more about the Interactivist and specifically about the Building Personal Mastery program. Hey, Rizig, is there any chance, hello, it's nice to see you, but is there any chance we could close your webcam? Just,
right.
If you go on the...
I'll send him an email or two, okay? I mean,
okay, great. So I'll just keep going.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this webinar will be 45 minutes long, and we'll start with a short introduction about the Interactivist and about Building Personal Mastery specifically. I'm going to then go into speaking about some benefits and impacts of the course that, like the takeaways for me. We are going to move into asking you folks that are on the call or on the chat for some input about your, for some input from you. And then we're going to go through an overview of a typical day at the program, and then we're going to finish off with details about the course, how to get more information, how to sign up, and such things. We hope to have a little bit of time at the end for more questions, and we'll see how that goes. So remember that throughout the course, or throughout the webinar, you can use the chat box to pose any questions or to add anything that you want to share. All right.
So just a couple of things to add there. Well, actually, one thing to add and then just a question. So we're really focusing on answering your questions about this program and why to help you explore whether this will be, if this is the program for you, and what are the ways in which it would be useful. So one of the questions that I'd like to put out to you and be interested to get a few responses, either in the chat box or on the phone. So if you're on the phone, don't hesitate to interrupt. My question to you would be, what are the biggest kind of leadership challenges that you personally face right now? What are you looking for in a program like this? So we'll go on with our little script that we have here, but we're very adaptable and flexible with it. So I'm interested if any of you would like to put down, what is it that's really, what you're feeling really up against right now in terms of the change work that you're engaged with, and what are you looking for? So I'm keeping my eye on the box, and I want to talk a little bit more about the Interactivist and specifically the upcoming course. So I mentioned that I've been involved in the program for about 5 years, and one of the things that has motivated us is that not only is there a lot of talk, but there's also a lot of research about the need for developing leaderships and ways of relating across organizations and within organizations, developing leaderships that are inclusive and that are able to transform the way that we relate to one another so that we can be more flexible, more resilient, and more effective in the social change work we do. I don't know about your specific experiences, but I've spent a lot of years in organizations which have done some wonderful things, but have struggled mightily with people's inability to really connect with one another in open, authentic ways. And when I say connect, I don't mean by that to suppress conflict, but to be able to engage in conflict in ways that help us actually become stronger and more effective, both individually and collectively. So,
hear her. Oh.
Sorry, what did you say?
You're not frozen anymore, but I can't hear you.
You can't hear me? Okay. Can you hear me now? No?
Oh, I can hear you now. Hello.
Okay.
Yes,
I must just cut out for a moment. So
yes.
I don't know how much got lost there. Do you remember where I was? Oh, okay, Leslie, I'm getting a comment from somebody else who said they heard everything, so I'm assuming that it's okay. So the Interactivist program focuses on learning not just skills, which are very important, but also the competencies and the ways of seeing ourselves in the world, which will help us be part of those transformative organizations and those kinds of leaderships in ways that are more effective. And the program brings together 6 really powerful educational approaches from around the North American continent. I'm not going to go into all of them, but what I will say is that I came in through, as I said at the beginning, the work that reconnects, but since then I have been part of learning about all of these different approaches, a couple of which come from the States, and I have experienced them in a very deep way, and they have changed my life, and I hope have made me a more effective leader and a more open and honest leader in the work that I do. So I have a lot of excitement about the kind of synergy that the different approaches have brought together. And one of those approaches, which I particularly want to mention, is that we have a very deep commitment to equity and diversity and inclusion in not only the design of our programs, but in our faculty and in all of the work that we do in relation to outreach and participation. So that gives you a bit more sense of the Interactivist and what it does. And now I'd like to move a bit more into discussing with Tobias the experience of building personal mastery, which is the first in 3 programs that we've got developed. Now, I am getting some fuzz, and I'm not sure if Tobias can hear me. Tobias, are you connecting? I think Tobias is frozen. Can anybody else hear Tobias? Oh, no, it settled down now.
Jackie, this is Leslie. You just keep on going. Tobias is going to log out and log back in and join us.
Okay, all right. Okay, So so I'm just going to take a little pause for a moment and see if there are any questions which any of you in the audience have, and let me just pause for those of you who are on the phone. Anybody on the phone have a question that they'd like to ask right now? So I have from Carol, in terms of a challenge, she's saying empowering all stakeholders within organizational hierarchies and authoritative ways of knowing/being. My orientation is long-term healthcare. So first of all, I just want to say, Carol, that one of the things that connects me with you is that I spent a number of years working for the BC Nurses Union, and I also just spent 5 years with my mother who died this spring in long-term care. So I have a very strong and deep sense of how difficult it is to work within the healthcare system, and also the wonderful work that people do. So we've actually had a number of people who are active within healthcare go through the Interactivist program and be part of the actually all three of the programs, but especially I want to speak to the first one. And the first one does not address all of the aspects of what it means to build connections with the people that we work with, because the first one focuses primarily on how is it that I or you show up as leaders, and how can we become more aware of the ways in which we get in our own way, but also the ways in which we have strengths that we actually haven't tapped into yet. So that's a very quick answer to you, and I'll try to come back to it. But I'm seeing that we have Tobias back on, I think. Tobias, can you hear? I'm thinking that it's difficult for you to connect in, Tobias. Can you hear anything?
Hello?
Now you're here. Wonderful. How are you? Was that a little stressful?
Can you hear me now?
I can. Yes. That was a little stressful, I imagine.
Yeah, it was. Was I frozen? Or?
Oh, you were frozen and there was no sound.
It definitely was.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm sure that lots of us feel the stress of technology not going our way. So I'm going to ask you, Tobias, I was talking a little bit about the program and responding to the question beginning to respond to the question from I think it was Carol, yes. So would you like to talk a bit about what were your key takeaways and your learnings from the program?
I totally, I'm not sure why.
You're not sure why what?
But.
You're breaking up. Again, I think. You're smiling. Oh dear. I can see that we're going to continue to have problems here. I think Tobias is trying to send us a message. Okay. Okay, I'm going to, Tobias, I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me? If you can, nod. I'm not sure he is. So I'm going to talk some more about the program. I know this isn't going the way we had planned, but that's one of the things about being resilient and adaptable. It's I can't give you the perspective of a participant because I am one of the faculty, but I want to talk what I see are some of the key aspects of the program that would be very useful for you. So let me run through a few things. One of the first things that we get a lot of really constructive and positive feedback about is the fact that we do a 360-degree, which means that you're invited before you come to the program to get feedback, and in-depth feedback from the people that you are close to, whether it's family members or people that you work with. You're invited to get their feedback, and that feedback is integrated into the way that you work within the course, so that you can have the benefit of experiencing some of the amazingly positive things that come out of the connections people have with you, but also to get their feedback that may be constructive and which you may want to work with. There's there's a lot of work usually done in relation to that feedback. So that's the first thing I want to mention to you. The second is that the program takes you through a journey, and it's a very creative journey, to understand how it is that you have become the kind of leader that you have, and what is it that drives you from perhaps your more early experiences. And those drivers may be specific to your family, they may be specific, and they probably are, specific to the social and the economic and the ethnic history that you have. And the program takes you through a journey of helping you understand, helping myself understand, and hopefully you understand, how our egos developed as we grew, and how those egos have benefited us, and also how they get in our way. And so the program gives us some very good ways of understanding that, but also some tools. And I'm just going to stop for a minute because I think Tobias is now back in. Are you, Tobias? No?
Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. So glad to have you back.
Okay.
I just talked a bit about the program. I talked about the 360 degrees. And I also talked about, you're freezing again though, so I'm a little worried.
Crashing.
You're crashing again. Okay. Well, I can only apologize to you all for the challenges.
Suggested that I call in by phone.
Okay.
Oh.
I can hear your voice. I can hear your voice, Tobias, and I see you visually. So, well, just relax, Jackie. So, I talked about the way in which
if you can hear me, I'm just going to call in by phone. Okay. So.
Yeah, I can hear you, although it's not high quality, Tobias. Can you hear me? I think we have that fuzz again. So I'm not going to keep trying to do this. I'll just wait until he comes in. So back on the way in which our ego develops. I know with me, for example, one of the things that has helped me a lot is that the program helped me understand what it is that I want to be seen as, like the images that I want others to see me. And it also helped me understand the images that I don't want others to see, and how those internal pictures of myself have driven me all my life. And so while I do believe that I'm a very effective educator, which is what I've done most of my life, and a pretty good communicator, I have a much better understanding now of the kinds of ways in which my desire to get things right and to be seen as a sort of a very, I feel a little bit embarrassed even describing these images, but to get things right and to be kind of brilliant and really connecting with people push me to not only organize my life, but also to relate to people in ways that can be sometimes overly controlling, and which make it very difficult for me to be vulnerable. The other side, that's, I have these positive images that I want to project. Beneath those are the great negative fears that I have, which is that I will be seen as not competent, as making mistakes, and that I will also be humiliated, which is fearful for me. Can you hear me, Jackie? I can hear you now, Tobias.
Okay.
Yeah. So
okay, I'm on over the phone, so
okay,
it should
that's
work
great.
out, and people just won't be able to see me.
All right. So thanks to those of you who've managed to hang in with us on this technology challenge. So I'm just finishing up a point that I was talking about, my self-images and the ones that I prefer that people see, and the ways that I want to be seen as somebody powerful and always getting it right, and the fear that I have that I will not, and that then I will experience humiliation, which comes out of my specific experience. And so this program has helped me understand that and helped me work with the ways in which being driven by those desires can sometimes make it very difficult for me to really be openly communicating with other people, and help me change that. So I can say more, but Tobias, I'm going to ask you, what did you get out of building personal mastery?
I definitely got a lot out of building personal mastery. I'm just trying to recover from all this technical stuff, but to answer that, I don't know if you spoke to the 360 feedback or not, Jackie.
I did a bit, but feel free to say more. Yeah.
Okay. Well, one of the things that I really appreciated about the course was this. So within the course, before you do the course, you do self-reflection, and you ask other people to give you this feedback based on a form, this 360 feedback that Jackie probably spoke to. And it's pretty intimidating, definitely a bit scary going into it, asking people to be really honest, because it's meant for a learning and growing opportunity. And as much as there was definitely things that I heard that maybe like stung a little within the feedback, something that was really great, and especially within the program, to receive the feedback that was also really positive. And it was like really nice, because I felt pretty scared about it. And I mean, my ego flaring up, and just like being really aware that I was going to be in a vulnerable situation. But it was just it was great to hear both the areas from people who really care about me, and both the areas that I needed to work on, and also the areas where I was doing really well in my life, and just to have that validation and that support. And like in terms of the areas that I did need to work on, it really came across as feeling very supportive. So that was one thing that definitely stuck with me from that, and I think was a pretty great thing. There are a lot more things as well, and I'm also recognizing that it's 12:25. So should I speak to more things, or?
I'd like to ask you, Tobias, in terms of skills that you came away with, if you could talk about those.
Totally. So there's, I think, just in general, building so many skills around self-reflection, around being able to deal with myself in different challenging situations. And there's, I mean, like looking at the the learning zone and the growth zone model that was used in terms of just like being able to recognize when I'm feeling really resistant to certain things, to look deeper into that. And it's definitely helped me in my relationships with others and myself in challenges, and also just to connect with so many different people who are also totally committed to social change, and also to like self-reflection and self-care, and that recognizing that both of those things are so linked, and to be in a supportive environment where other people have, I mean, with such a diversity of experiences and diversity of backgrounds, but just like this strong commitment to themselves and to the world. It was pretty powerful.
Great. I'm going to just add a little thing to what you were just talking to around a specific tool that we will make sure you feel very familiar with by the time you leave the course, which we kind of whimsically call sorting a pinch. And one of the things that the course does is it in the process of really supporting us to be more self-reflective about our reactions in the way that Tobias is saying, is to be way more connected with the signals and the information that come from our bodies. And so This sorting a pinch tool, which I still carry with me and use regularly, really helps me understand when I'm being, first of all, to notice much more quickly when I'm being reactive to another, to take perspective on that, to understand more clearly what's happening for me and what's driving me and what might also be driving other people, and to take me through a process that I guess you could say reduces the triggered energy that I feel and allows me to respond to other people more skillfully. And this tool is a wonderful takeaway from the course. So I just wanted to add that on to what Tobias said. And recognizing where we are in terms of time, would you like to talk about some of the other benefits or impacts a little bit before we go into a typical day, Tobias, that are maybe not so much specific to the course, but in a more general kind of way?
Yeah, sure. So like I said, I mean, just having the opportunity to connect with all of these different people who are committed to change, making change. Also the location, I mean, you can't really beat it because it's just right on the ocean, on Gabriel Island. The accommodation is super nice, and the room that I was staying in, I shared with one other person, and it's just had a huge wall of windows looking out onto a nice, like, I think it was hemlock trees that were there, but I might be mistaken, it might be spruce. But evergreen trees and just super peaceful. The food is fantastic, and having somebody like because the course is quite demanding in terms of just like what you're putting into it and what you're taking away from it, having other people cook for you was really great. And the food is just so good, and it's healthy and it's delicious, and there was dessert at dinner, which I have a sweet tooth, so that was really fantastic. And and building connections. As like I did speak to the people, but I've maintained connections with a few of the people that I met there, and like have also been able to have meetings about my work and just get feedback or like get some more mentorship or direction, which has also been really great. And I've also been super grateful to maintain connections with Jackie and Ian and Natasha, who were facilitating the program.
Right. So just a couple of things. One, there's a question that Vicky's asked, which Ian, who's our project director, who's in the background here with Leslie Dickout, who is the person who keeps us all organized around these events, asked a question about the 360 and whether we actually, in addition to the 360, do we do a kind of assessment to identify the type of leader that you are? And so on that specific question, no. What we do is we actually have you focus much more intensely on who you are rather than the type of leader that you are. And what happens in the process as we unfold our own story and our own way of being in the world, we really find the ways in which we connect with others and have similar patterns with others. But we don't actually use a formal kind of leadership profile assessment, which they can be useful, but in this case, and I've used a number of them myself, but what we're trying to do here is to help you look at your own personal journey and the way that you will therefore interact with others. And that, of course, will depend on the kind of way in which you show up as a leader. So that's kind of a partial response to you, Vicky. I hope that's useful. So now a few moments about what a typical day is like. We start 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning after, as Tobias has said, a good breakfast, and most people take an opportunity to get out and walk along the water or among the lovely trails that there are in the area. And then we go through the morning. We take a good break at lunchtime to allow people to spend time with themselves, whether that means resting or walking in the beautiful surroundings or reading or whatever you need, but also sometimes just need time for reflection because the course is intense. So usually a couple of hours at that time, and then we go right through until dinner time, about 5:45 or so. Then we have a dinner break, and then we have evening sessions that are lighter than the ones during the day, but that are still substantial and allow us to deepen the learning that's come from the day. I will say emphatically that our work is very much based on the needs of the group, and so if the process that unfolds requires us to adjust our agenda in response to your needs, we will do that, rest assured, and we have done it many times. So this is not a rigid program. It's one that works with the flow and the synergy of the group. Lots of informal happenings happen, and you will meet some amazing people from actually all over the world who attend this course. Majority, of course, from North America, but we've had people from the UK, from South Africa, and from the Far East. So the connections that people make are the things that continue over their lives afterwards. We also always have a final evening, which is what we call the No Talent Night, where anybody is invited to either share their talent or their no talent. There's no obligation, but it's usually a lot of fun, especially when some of the participants take on roasting the facilitators, which they do.
And just to speak to the No Talent Night too, another huge, phenomenal gift that the Haven has is they have like a whole, I have no idea how they have this, but they have this whole room that is full of any kind of costume you could ever imagine or dream of. So you can get some pretty great outfits out of there for the No Talent Night. And props.
Yeah, I've forgotten about that. That's wonderful, that room. Yeah.
Yeah.
Vicky has just asked a question. Are there specific learning objectives associated with the course? There are, and we can send them to you, but if you go onto the website, Building Personal Mastery, the outcomes, the general outcomes are there, and I'm just checking actually. They're not on the front page, so I'm going to commit to making sure you get those, Vicky, because I don't want to spend time wandering around the website right now. But yes, there are specific learning objectives that we include in this. So
Jackie,
let me
just to touch on what a typical day is like as well, just to add in that something that I really appreciated about the program is that the morning session and the afternoon session, they're generally about 3 hours each, which feels like a very manageable amount of time in which you can get through a lot of stuff. So it's not, I think that often when, trying to do this kind of work, if you enter into like too short of a period of time, then you might not get to where, or like that, it just might not provide enough space. But I think that having the morning session be 3 hours and then having lunch and the afternoon break where you can reflect on your learning and then moving into another 3-hour session, it was just, I think that it's really well laid out, and so way to go for you guys for laying it out like that.
Yeah, I will just say that we've had quite a wonderful time over the last 3-4 years. Maybe not always we would use the word wonderful, but an intense time trying to bring together these 6 different approaches and to create something that is brand new, unique in North America, and knitting together in educational design, working with, I really truly believe 6 top educators who really know their stuff. So there's you're getting something pretty special from the Interactivists that you won't find anywhere else, and that draws on the strengths of many different people who are working in the field of personal development combined with social change work. I just noticed that Ian, who's our project director, has posted the general learning outcomes, and maybe it was I'm just trying to see who asked that question. I've kind of lost it on the trail here, but if that is not sufficient for you, we can be more specific, so please let us know. So I'm just going to touch on some more detail right now. You all know the location. It's at the Haven in Gabriola, which for those of you who don't know, the area is a small island off of Vancouver Island, so you access it by coming into Vancouver and then going over to Vancouver Island and then a short ferry to the Haven. There's another way to do it by plane too. Secondly, the dates are March the 14th to the 18th, so it's a 5-day program. You would be coming in on the 13th evening because we would be making a 9 a.m. start on the 14th, and it ends at 4:30 in the afternoon on the 18th. So it is a full 5 days, and we ask you to be committed to those full 5 days, not only for your own personal development and takeaways from the course, but also in terms of the synergy and the group building for everybody attending. You know, a group of 20 to 25 people develop really strong connections during that 5-day period. The cost is $14.50 for the tuition, and with basic accommodation and food, the full cost is $2,000. It would cost you slightly more if you don't want to have a shared room, so you'd have to get in touch with the Haven on that question. Now, we know that financial resources can be a challenge, and especially for people who are from marginalized communities, of a great variety of marginalized communities, and so we've worked very hard to raise money for bursaries, and we do have bursaries which can pay at least, for those of you who qualify, that can pay part of the program costs. Usually the bursaries are for the tuition costs. Our bursary program is...
I was a very lucky recipient of the bursary, and not, I mean, being a student and being and working in the field that I do, which I wouldn't have been able to attend this course otherwise, so I'm super thankful for that, and I'm really think that it's great that you have that option as well.
Yeah, and it's really a big commitment of ours. So our bursary selection process is committed to ensuring diversity of participants, so we have a way of assessing the applications based on diversity criteria. And I'm going to, in a minute, give you the link for that, just to say that don't be shy. Get your applications in. We take everybody seriously, and every program has had a number of bursary participants, and they've given such important contribution to the course, and Tobias is clearly one of them, but many others too. So really, don't be shy. The deadline for it is for applying is February 13th. So you've only got a couple of weeks if you want to apply for a bursary. And I'm going to put the link in for you now. And I just want to go back on a question that somebody just asked, maybe it wasn't on the chat line, where can I get a full agenda for the course? So we don't publish a full agenda for the course online, but if you want, I think this was Ed asking this question. Yes, Ed Whittington. Yes, where can I find an agenda for the full 5 days? We could give you an overview. We wouldn't give you the full detail, of course, but we certainly can give you an overview of what we do in each session, remembering that we are flexible and things change. So if you're interested in that, Ed, let us know. And I guess the best thing to do would be just to, Ian Curtin, the project director, will be following up, and you can talk to him about this, and we'll get you what you need there.
Jackie, I'm just wondering if anybody, just being somebody who is now on the phone, I'm wondering if anybody who's on the phone who doesn't have access to the chat box would like to pose any questions before we wrap things up. It's 12:43. Is there anybody who's
Thanks,
on
Tobias.
the phone?
Anyone on the phone who has a question?
Going once, going twice. Okay, I guess not.
Okay, so so we're about to come to close here. So wide open for any comments or any questions before we say goodbye to you. Okay, so thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. As I said, Ian will be following up to see if some of you are interested or have any other questions, and we really appreciate you taking the time. Come to the program. You'll appreciate it.